Hello, hi everyone, and welcome. My name is Regina Klenjoski. I am the Artistic Director of Regina Klenjoski Dance Company, and I'm excited to welcome you to our first live viewing. So we have jumped on this technological speed train, and we're excited to be able to bring you art and dance through this screen. So we are so excited to welcome those of you that are familiar with RKDC. And if there's any of you out there that are new to RKDC, I encourage you to go to our website after the showing and check out what we do. It's rkdc.org. And there you'll discover we are a nonprofit arts organization. We are a dual state nonprofit. We have programming in California, and we also have programming here in Kansas. And it's been quite a 2020, right? I mean, we are moving and we're grooving through this pandemic, but not without major support that we're incredibly grateful for. And I know it's been a hard year for many, if not all. And I just want to take a moment to thank some organizations that are really helping us through this pandemic and through this time. The National Endowment for the Arts is a big supporter with their COVID Relief Fund. We are so fortunate to be a grantee that's going to carry us through this season. Thank you to the NEA. And the LA County and the City of Los Angeles COVID Relief Fund, thank you to them for supporting our staff and our educational programs in Torrance, California. We also want to say thank you to the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission and the Arts Council of Wichita, who's supporting our professional projects here in Kansas. And also, of course, a big, big thank you to all of you donors out there that have supported us over the last 7 months. We are so grateful to you. So grateful that we are being able to continue to provide artistic outlets for the youth and students in our program, to be able to keep the dancers dancing, to be able to keep the artists working and engaging with our community through dance. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So why are we here today? We're here to watch The Pitch. So The Pitch is a work I created in 2011 with original cast members, Anna Bowden, who's here with us today, and Sam Propersi. So there are some other collaborators that worked on this piece that I want to mention. Denise Lichter, who is a longtime, not only a dear friend, but a longtime collaborator in costume design, created these stunning costumes. And Mark Fichette was the composer for the music that you're about to hear. And incidentally, Mark and I are collaborating again on a new work this fall, Radical Joy. So those of you that are in Wichita, you can catch that tomorrow and next Saturday at Nofsker Park. So we hope to see you, but I'm excited to be working with Mark again. The piece premiered at the James Armstrong Theater in Torrance. That's the video you're going to watch, but it's had many renditions. And the lighting design here is by Eileen Cooley, another wonderful artist in Los Angeles that I've had the good fortune to work with many times. And then the photography and the photographs you see of The Pitch around the internet are by Rose Eichenbaum, legendary photographer Rose Eichenbaum. So I'm really excited that The Pitch were able to highlight the wonderful work of these artists in The Pitch. So I want to encourage you to stay after the work so that you can hear from Anna, who's going to join us, and we're going to talk about the dancer's perspective and the choreographic perspective in regards to process. We will answer your questions, throw them in the chat. We look forward to interacting with you that way. So without further ado, I'd like to have you enjoy now The Pitch.
Hello. Hello. Well, listen, wait. It's the shh and the skip. Whoa.
I see. Right.
No. Shh. Hello. Shh. You see the shh?
Okay, I see that.
Because
Let's talk about that. Hello.
hello. It's because the skip. It's the skip. No, it's skip.
Okay, yes. I'm talking about
No. Hello. It's the skip.
And
And the shh.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'm talking about that.
I said hello. It's Because it's less understanding. Anyone would have to because you think
All those people that were
really that everyone's find a different way. Well, there's some know it. Wow! Because you don't understand. Underestimate estimate. You miss it. Discriminate. Because
Bravo, Miss Anna and Sam. Great work. Oh, hi, everybody. Welcome back. So this is Miss Anna Bowden, the original performer for that piece. And I'm excited to have her here today to chat with us a little bit about process and about what it was like to perform in that piece. Anna, what was it like watching that after 9 years?
Man, it was like watching something from 9 years ago, but it was also like watching something from yesterday. I mean, those soapboxes bring back so many good memories, honestly. But really, I just was so struck by how this piece is completely 100% relevant to today and what's going on right now, especially in our nation. So, I think, like, before you ask me any questions, I would love to ask you a question about your process, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Yeah.
Just to like kind of refresh my mind of how this kind of came about in your head and how you created it. So in my opinion, I really think that art is a total reflection of the person making it themselves and a reflection of their world and their environment around them. So when you made this piece 9 years ago, what or how was that a reflection of you and kind of what you saw going on in the world around you?
Yeah, well, this was in 2011. So, the 2008 election was a little bit in the history in the past. But before I even say that, I would start by saying that I typically use dance as a form of inquiry into my life, into a way of knowing myself, but also my understanding of the world and my community. It's also a way to go deeper into a subject that is important to me or resonates with my community or society as a whole. So I always use the work to strive to make dances that are probing, but also at the same time seductively entertaining in a way that would like disarm audiences to be able to open into dialogue about subject matter and context. So this particular work, I will say that after the 2008 election, I might have become awoke to the idea of a hostile political discourse. That sounds a little naive, but that's all. Politics has always been that way, right? But I feel like there was something about what I was witnessing, the emotional attachment to political ideology that crossed a line, right? So we are passionate about what we believe, but I feel like there was something that felt like it was crossing a line. And when it does that, I think it diminishes reasonable thinking to a degree and then creates these knee-jerk reactions to oppositional views. So that's really what I think sparked this inquiry. And then also, the idea of standing on a corner and being so passionate about something and shouting from the top of your lungs, I believe this is my truth. And then on the other corner is your best friend shouting the exact opposite passionately in contrast.
I think we're seeing a lot of that right now, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
So how do we coexist? How do both of these things happen? Is it a compromise? Is it I agree to disagree? Is it how do we move forward? So I think those are the two intellectual inquiries that sparked the work. But then and the third and final idea, I just wanted to make comedy. I'm not, up until that point, I was making pretty serious work, and I gave myself the task to try to approach a subject with a little bit of comedic, relief. So, yeah. So now I'm going to turn it around to you and say, well, what stood out to you about this process of making the pitch? Because it was so personal, like the text and the improvisation and the partnering between you and Sam. So what stood out to you as a performer in this process?
Good question. Okay, lots of things. I think one of the words that comes to my mind is trust. I think when we started working on the pitch, it was me and you and Sam, and we were just like really having fun. And there's something to be said about being in a room of people that you can be silly and you can do dumb stuff in, like at the beginning, we're just trying out sounds and noises and gestures, and some of them landed and some of them didn't, and from every comedian I've ever watched, that's their process too. They're constantly trying things out to see, okay, what sticks to the wall and what gets a reaction and what doesn't. And I think if I didn't have a trust already established with you and Sam, I think it would be a lot harder for me to feel free to play and to be so silly with it, especially the beginning process. And I think that that's a testament to trust. And when you're creating art with other people, trust doesn't come from just meeting someone. It's something that's earned over time. So I think it was also, and you might agree with this or not, but I think creating the pitch was great timing, not just because of what was going on in the outside world, but because what was going on within RKDC. And we had this very great kind of tightly knit group of dancers. And there is this just mutual trust between the three of us in particular that I think shows in the work in terms of partnering and the ability to really just let ourselves go. So
And
there's that aspect of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. In that brainstorming, trial and error, experimenting, the further you can, the more you trust, the further you can go, the more you get to you distill down to the core of what you're working with, because you're trying everything, because there's no judgment in the room. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just saw Sam in the comments saying Jackie and Sam and their family are watching. Hello, nice to see you.
Fantastic.
I think the other thing that stands out to me in this piece, remembering back when we created it, is you gave us a lot of prompts that were telling us to outdo the other person, be bigger, be louder. You're trying to get your point across. And I really personally love dance theater work because I often get to go into like a character. Where sometimes modern dance can be very kind of neutral in terms of emotion, whatnot. So it was really fun to explore this character and to get into her and like what drives her and why is she doing the things she's doing. So I personally really loved that. But what was happening as you were directing us as actor dancers to trying to outdo each other, there was this natural, organic competitiveness that was kind of welling up, I think, within me and Sam as people outside of our characters. I remember this one particular rehearsal where we, did the piece, or at least a part of the piece, and Sam stopped and he was like, well, you won that one, Anna. And he was like, he seemed like he was actually upset or like actually like hurt by it, So what's funny about all this is that I think it's quite easy, and this is just my 2 cents. I think it's quite easy to look at politicians and people in the spotlight and people who are taking a stance for what they believe, and the ones especially who are being very emotional about it and maybe a little unfair to their competition or whatnot, and say, oh, those are those people, those are those people, and to separate ourselves from them. But what stood out to me is that we all have that egoic desire to want to be right, want to be better than, to have the upper end, to have the last word, even if it's to a very small degree. So I think it just speaks kind of to what I would call the human condition, that we all have those things inside of us. So
exactly. And in the piece, what I love about how it developed is that it started almost cordial,
yeah,
and then it slowly ended up unwinding into chaos and violence and really needing to control and topple the other person, taking it to the extreme, which felt extreme and now feels a little less extreme. Now some of that has felt a little normalized, but I agree with you. I think that piece of our, that piece of our nature of wanting to make our point as if the other person didn't hear us. I need to speak louder because you didn't hear me, and just to continue to escalate, right? Instead of like stopping and having a really, really heart-to-heart, sincere conversation and being open to each other's ideas, right? Which those characters did not get to do. So
yeah, I think the other thing I'm just learning personally in my life is this phrase of both things can be true. So like I can have my opinion about something and you can have your opinion about something. And instead of going at each other's throats, we can say, well, I believe this and you believe that. And both of those things, there's room for those two things to exist. And that's so hard for us to like allow that other opinion to exist. But
Right.
it's true. There's so much things in the world that are oppositional, that are constantly existing alongside of each other. So something I'm learning.
Well, opposition creates balance. That's true in dance. All right.
Yeah.
I think it's true in life. I'm going to ask you one more, if we can squeeze in one more quick question for you. As a performer, you're asked to be really physical, really focused on intricate and sometimes risky partnering. There's some very risky stuff in that piece. Intellectually engaged through the content of the work and the live speaking, which some of it was improvised in the moment, which shifted with the political times. And finally, emotionally engaged through your acting. So as you try to portray this character with depth and not just one-sided. So what would you say, if you can just do some quick line answers to what was most challenging in that as a performer, as a dancer? What do you find, where did you find the most freedom? And what do you take away from this experience as a performer in the pitch?
It was very challenging to stay contained. I think that's a word that I would use for myself. Contained in my talking about physicality in my core and in my center, because I've realized now that I like to operate from the inside out. So I kind of grabbed onto the emotion of that character in the piece, like what's the motivation, what's the intention, and then everything else flows out as an expression of that. So what happens is if I let the character become too much of my mental focus while I'm performing it, I start to lose things that are really important, like balance. And we're on a box that's this big. And there are many times in rehearsal we would be falling off, and we couldn't do that in performance. And I had this person who was trusting me with their weight, and I'm trusting them with my weight. So it was definitely a challenge balancing the character and the emotion of it, and kind of how wild she is in some parts, but also being very contained and controlled in my physicality. Especially I found myself having to really engage my core in a new way. Core, not just the abs, the glutes, the back muscles, keeping that tight center while giving freedom to everything else, the limbs, the voice, if that makes sense. Trying to think of the other parts of that question. What felt freeing was to explore this character. I mean, that was just so much fun. And I've always, in my head been like an actor, singer, but never quite like gone out to those auditions or explored that part of me. So this gave me a chance to explore that part of me. So that was really, really freeing to open my mouth and speak and to try comedy. And then I just think the experience was great because, for many reasons, but I think it taught me to be strong with what I know and not really care what other people think. I know that might be surprising to hear, but I don't know if you remember this, but we performed the pitch a lot, and each audience reacted to it so differently. I mean, we had some audiences that were just laughing out loud, and then others, it was just crickets. And Sam and I just had to like keep going even when there was no feedback. And that was an interesting experience. I think it kind of gave me some stamina to, I don't know, I don't want to say my character, but this idea of like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to follow it through to the end, even if no one is responding in a way that I can hear, or feel expressed to me. So.
Goodness. Yeah. And that is what a great skill, and what a great thing to remember right now in this virtual world where we're getting so little feedback in these virtual platforms, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, wonderful. Well, I think that's our time for the day. Anna, thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to see you and your stunning performance. And Sam, I'm so glad you're joining us. You too. I want to encourage everybody to hop back on. We're going to post the piece for the next for the next week so that you can come back and see it. And if it was glitchy for you, I hope this, when you come back on YouTube and Vimeo, it won't be for you. So the last thing I want to say is go out and vote, everybody. Go out and voice your opinion, make voice, and vote, vote, vote. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Have a great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Anna.